USA Basketball. Did a video yesterday afternoon late that Caitlin Clark is among a number of participants that's headed to the senior training camp for Team USA. Now, I would assume, right? Oh, they've learned all kinds of lessons after failing to put Caitlin Clark on Team USA.
And this situation exploded out of nowhere and hit the league like a freight train, completely shattering any sense that things were improving. Right when fans were celebrating Caitlin Clark getting her long-awaited invite to the senior training camp, a new Team USA graphic dropped and instantly set everything on fire. It was meant to be a simple welcome post, but one face was missing. The face everyone expected. The player who has completely changed the landscape of women's basketball.to fans. It felt less like a mistake and more like a very public snub. A moment that sparked outrage across social media and left people demanding answers. The disrespect they saw wasn't subtle. It felt loud, intentional, and impossible to ignore. And the silence from the decision makers? That was the worst part. No explanation, no context, nothing. Just a storm of backlash and a league scrambling to figure out what comes next.
Now, I would assume, right? Oh, they've learned all kinds of lessons after failing to put Caitlin Clark on Team USA during the Olympics. By the way, of which the guy that runs the 2028 Olympics, he come out and said he thought it was a terrible idea leaving her off the team. Adam Silver said, hey, I think this was an opportunity that they could have had to have grown women's sports. Something that I and many other Caitlin Clark fans also said. Do you want to grow the sport? Do you want to...
And honestly, this isn't the first time we've seen something like this. People still remember the Olympic roster fiasco, the moment Caitlin Clark was left off the team despite overwhelming public support. Many fans thought USA Basketball had learned from that backlash, that they understood how crucial she is to the growth of the sport. But here we are again, watching another confusing decision that feels completely out of touch with what fans actually want. That it's becoming a pattern that keeps pushing the momentum of women's sports to the side instead of building on it. Instead of embracing Caitlin Clark's massive, game-changing popularity, it feels like the system treats it as an inconvenience. And that's not just frustrating, it's a strategic mistake. One that keeps costing the sport attention, growth, and the trust of its fastest-growing fan base.
Sports, something that I and many other Caitlin Clark fans also said. Do you want to grow the sport? Do you want to... Does I said NBC should have been furious that she was not on the Olympic team. They would have shattered... They might have shattered potentially basketball, actual Olympic basketball records, maybe outside of the old Dream Team kind of records, right? Back when television ratings in general were just higher because there was no streaming services, yada, yada, yada. But you get my point. It'd have been a huge rating.
Even the biggest voices in sports were calling out that original Olympic snub. The head of the 2028 Olympics, a man whose entire job is to bring global attention to the games, openly said it was a huge mistake to leave Caitlin Clark off the roster. Then you had NBA Commissioner Adam Silver echoing the same thing, pointing out how massive an opportunity was being wasted for women's basketball. These weren't random opinions or casual hot takes. These were serious warnings from the very top of the sports world, and they exposed just how disconnected USA Basketball's decision-making really is. The message from leadership couldn't have been clearer, but it still ended up being ignored.
Instead, they continue to treat Caitlin Clark like she's a leper. What are we doing? What are we doing? The WNBA, Team USA, I don't understand. And when I did my video last night, I had not seen this. Shit, I got up this morning and I seen it now. And we'll get to the reaction. By the way, heads up, Christine Brennan's the one that really caught my eye on this. And, you know, just to put it out.
Just think about how furious NBC must have been, or at the very least, how frustrated they should have been. If Caitlin Clark had been on that Olympic roster, the TV ratings would have gone through the roof. We're talking record-shattering numbers, potentially rivaling the legendary Dream Team era, especially with how modern audiences consume sports today. But instead, that golden opportunity was wasted. All that potential for historic viewership and massive momentum was left sitting on the table. This wasn't just a win waiting to happen for women's basketball, it was a guaranteed ratings explosion for the broadcasters. A cultural and financial moment with millions on the line. Simply tossed aside, it's hard to think of a more short-sighted decision. The league didn't just lose exposure, it lost a once-in-a-generation spotlight. Want me to combine all rewrites into one full yo?
Added the photo of one other player to this graphic, but no. I'm going to keep it real. She's the only player I'd have put on that graphic. The only player. I mean, at some point, this women's basketball has got to quit worrying about hurting people's little feelings. Siri, do you want to grow or do you not want to grow? I mean, you put Kaylee Copper, okay, Kelsey Plum, and I'm guessing this is probably Chelsea Gray.
The latest spark that set fans off came from a post by veteran sports journalist Christine Brennan. She pointed out something incredibly simple, yet absolutely damning. If USA Basketball truly cared about growing the sport and attracting new fans, Caitlin Clark would have been front and center on every promotional graphic they released. Her critique was short, direct, and devastating. And it blew up. The post pulled in over 250,000 views, instantly putting USA Basketball on the defensive. It became undeniable proof that the public sees right through the organization's half-hearted attempts to engage fans. That Brennan's comment exposed a major truth. There's a massive disconnect between what USA Basketball claims its mission is and what it actually does.
Caitlin Clark, and I paid attention then long enough to throw up in a bucket. I mean, this is nuts. USA women's basketball is back. 18 athletes will attend December 12th through the 14th, Durham, North Carolina. By the way, you want to know one reason why the ratings were down for the last Olympics on women's basketball? People boycotted it because Caitlin Clark wasn't named to the team.
I remember when that graphic dropped. It basically told the whole story by itself. Yes, it highlighted great players like Kelsey Plum and Chelsea Gray, but the absence was impossible to miss. The one athlete who has become the undeniable face of the entire sport wasn't there at all. Social media erupted instantly. You saw people asking, who even are these players? And again, it wasn't about disrespecting anyone on that graphic. It was about acknowledging reality. Caitlin Clark is a global phenomenon, the most recognizable and marketable star in women's basketball. Yet USA Basketball continues to act like showcasing her is optional. They seem more focused on internal politics than basic, obvious common sense. It's a baffling approach, one that directly undermines the very goals they claim to be pursuing.
People boycotted it because Caitlin Clark wasn't named to the team. I remember. That was a huge story on this channel. A huge story. So, a lot of people noticed Christine's post. It got over 250,000 views. And it looks to me like that USA Basketball chose to leave the conversation.
That post blew up fast, over 250,000 views, and it honestly looked like USA Basketball just walked away from the conversation entirely. But they should have seen this coming a mile away. The first Olympic snub had real, measurable consequences. Fans didn't just complain on social media, they took action. Many refused to watch the games, and the ratings absolutely tanked. It was a direct reaction to Clark being left out, and the numbers made that crystal clear. But instead of learning from that, USA Basketball seems to have ignored the data completely. And now, with this latest move, they're risking alienating even more fans. The possibility of another drop in viewership is very real, because this fan base has already proven it will push back that IT feels like they're determined to repeat the exact same mistakes, no matter the cost.
To grow women's basketball at the 2024 Olympics, this is a continuing story. They learned nothing. They learned nothing. They are still fighting the CC motion with everything they have. Did I watch the last Olympics without CC? Nope. Will I watch this team with CC? Yes. I'm not the only one. You're not the only one.
You read, definitely not imagining it. The backlash was so intense that USA Basketball actually started quietly deleting their own social media posts featuring that controversial graphic. The main post is still up, but it's getting absolutely buried under negative comments. The response has been brutal, and that kind of quiet retreat, even without an apology, speaks volumes. It shows they know they're in trouble and they're scrambling to manage the narrative. But in the age of instant screenshots and non-stop coverage, moves like that only make the original snub look even worse. It digs the hole deeper. For decades, USA Basketball has had two core missions: win medals and grow the sport. They're still winning, sure, but they're failing spectacularly at the second part. By repeatedly sidelining their biggest star, they're actively shrinking their potential audience and jeopardizing the sport's future. It genuinely feels like USA Basketball is resisting the Caitlin Clark movement at every turn, refusing to embrace the one player who has undeniably transformed women's basketball. Fans even point to past decisions, like Diana Taurasi making the roster only to barely play, as proof that the organization favors established names over players who actually drive audience growth. And the criticism gets even sharper when people start pointing out the possibility of a double standard, the idea that Clark doesn't check the right boxes. Whether that's true or not, the perception alone is incredibly damaging, because here's the truth. Caitlin Clark is the most globally recognized women's basketball player in the world. Ignoring her appeal isn't strategy, it's self-sabotage. Many fans genuinely believe that people inside USA Basketball can't stand that she's the primary reason the sport is exploding in popularity. Some even think the new coach might be jealous, but the numbers don't lie. After the first Olympic snub, viewership for Fever Games dropped by over 50%. That's not coincidence, that's cause and effect. Leaving the most popular female athlete on the planet off a major promotional graphic isn't just a bad look. It's a catastrophic marketing failure that IT makes you ask, what are we doing here? The roadmap to success is right in front of them, yet they keep fumbling it, and one thing is certain. If they leave Caitlin Clark off the final roster again, the internet,